All right, we are live on the Kansas City Teacher Residency Facebook page. Thank you for joining us, those who are watching live and direct. For those who will be watching later, thank you for taking the time to check out our discussion this afternoon. If you've been aware of our page recently, we've been doing different series pertaining to the Kansas City Teacher Residency, and we created one now that's just called the Kansas City Teacher Residency Teacher Discussions, where each time we feel like there's something of significance to discuss, we'll just tag that along with that series. So this afternoon we have Kansas City Teacher Residency Teacher Discussions presents the coaching model. And I thought this was a very important conversation to take part in, because we talk a lot about coming into the residency program. We talk a lot about what that looks like through Summer Institute a little bit and throughout the course of a year, but we don't spend a lot of time talking about what does the coaching aspect of that look like. You hear us often say, well, you'll have a coach, and you might be wondering, what is a coach? Who is a coach? What does a coach look like? So we want to spend some time today talking about that, because we do have individuals who are still considering signing up for the program. And I think it's important enough for you all to know what type of support system you have in play as you're thinking about making that jump into the teacher profession. So this afternoon, and I always forget to do this, so I apologize, but my name is Vernon Birmingham. I'm the talent and placement manager at the Kansas City Teacher Residency and been leading these series over the last month or so. But this afternoon, I am joined by two of our continuum coaches within the Kansas City Teacher Residency who were kind enough to clear out their schedule for an hour for me today to talk about this important topic. So this afternoon, we have with us Iyshia Sims and Melissa Noland. Good afternoon. How are you all?
Hello, doing good. How are you, Vernon?
I am doing excellent. Just hearing, we've been talking about the weather, how nice it's been, and it's still nice, but all I hear is just wind going like crazy outside. Iyshia, how's it going?
It's going good. It's nice and quiet over here.
That is always good. So as we get started into this, I'm gonna give you both opportunity to introduce yourselves and a little bit about your background and that led you into this role as a coach within the Kansas City Teacher Residency.
Awesome. Well, I'll start. Like Vernon said, my name is Iyshia Sims. I just joined the KCTR staff in June, so I'm fairly new. Before I joined the team, I taught first grade, I taught second grade. I was a reading recovery specialist for 3 years. I was a reading interventionist for 4 years. And then I started to go into coaching, literacy coaching mostly, until I got and made my way to KCTR, where I do full-time coaching, and I'm a very happy woman doing full-time coaching. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Excellent, thank you. Melissa?
So Melissa Noland, senior continuum coach, and that just means I have some extra duties on the side. But I was a high school chemistry and physics teacher, still love STEM, do a lot of work with my STEM folks, which is great. And realized that a lot of my strengths lie in mentoring and working with people one-on-one and really helping them develop and grow. And so I became a coach with TFA and was there for 4 years. And found out about KCTR and knew about their strong focus on teacher development and decided to come join the team here. And I am going to be finishing up my 3rd year here at the end of May. So starting year 4 this summer, which is awesome.
Excellent, excellent. And we're definitely glad to have you all on board as two of our wonderful coaches that we have. And and we're going to get into some discussion here a little bit, but I always want to give time to talk just briefly for those who might be tuning in for the first time because someone sent them this way and don't really have much context yet on what the Kansas City Teacher Residency consists of. But we are a program who works to recruit, train, develop, and hopefully retain teachers within the Kansas City education community, typically individuals who have their professional background in another area, or individuals who are fresh out of college who have their degree in something other than education. They come and work with us as becoming a certified teacher within the Kansas City community. So what that looks like is they go through a year of training where they're paired with a mentor teacher within a school. And we use the residency program. When we think about residency, often we think about a medical profession. So it's in sense, it looks this, I ain't gonna say it looks the same, but it means that they're working side by side with a mentor teacher and observing, learning, watching, practicing some of the things that they're learning over the course of the year. That's also aligned with some of the classroom work that they're doing as they're working to be certified, as well as working towards a master's degree. So that is the short snippet of what the Kansas City Teacher Residency is. But with that said, let's talk a little bit about what exactly is the role of a coach within KCTR. And you all can both answer. You can go back and forth. This is kind of a hangout room right now, so it's not really like, it's not going to flow like, okay, you have to answer this one. Yeah. So if anything that comes to mind, or so if someone says something, want to add something, let's go ahead and do that. But what is the role of a coach?
It's like, who's going to talk first? Well, I know Melissa's going to have more to add on to this, and especially since Melissa is a senior coach. But one of the things that like resonates with me as being a coach is just being a support system for teachers. Just being there to collaborate with them, to be a thought partner. As a coach, we go in, observe. Right now, we're not going in, we're virtual, but shortly we'll be actually going into schools to observe teachers. And during that time, we really just hone in on whatever skill the teacher is looking for, depending on what year they are in our program. If they're a resident, then we have like certain skills that we'll tell them, like, we're looking for these certain skills for this gateway, which is aligned to our rubric. So we'll go in, observe whatever goal that we're focusing on. And then after that observation, then the teacher, the coach, and the resident, we all sit down and have a conversation about, how did that lesson go? Like, how did you feel that lesson went? We give them affirming feedback, which is positive feedback. And then we give them adjusting feedback, which is ways that they can grow and continue to stretch their learning and thinking for the teachers and for the students. Which is my favorite part, is giving the teachers feedback. Giving teachers adjusting feedback is fun, but my favorite part is giving the affirming feedback, because as a teacher, I was always didn't know if I was doing anything right. And so having that coach as an outside source come in to give that affirming feedback is the best part, in my opinion. But there's other perks, and I'll let Melissa share some other things that we do.
Yeah, I think Iyshia, you got to the core of what we do, right? We help people grow, and that's at the crux. And I think one of the things that's really exciting about our team, and one of the things that are just aspects of our program, is that we try to really be responsive to people as individuals. And so I don't coach all of my teachers the exact same way, and I don't think anybody on our team coaches with the exact same strategies. We're all different, and we all kind of get to show up as our real selves. And we all get to meet our people where they are and really help push them. And I think that for me is the most exciting part, is that particularly for our graduate teachers. So once the residency is over and those foundational skills have been built, we really work with teachers to set concrete, high leverage goals. And then we do what we can to support them to get there. So we don't tell them, like, you have to work on this. We really let teachers say, based on my school and what I'm good at, I really want to focus on this thing. And then we figure out how to help them get better in that area. And I like the new challenge. When people bring stuff to me and I'm just like, I've never done that before. Let's figure it out together. Let's partner. Let's see what we need to do. And this year, especially, I've been working a lot on like really creative lesson planning and figuring out how to get student engagement in just a completely new setting. And those kinds of challenges and new areas are always really exciting and fun to be able to tackle and partner with people to figure out.
No, but both, a lot of that was very good. And you both touched on something that actually leads into one of the next questions, the things I was going to ask. And Melissa, you said something that's very important, and I think you both even touched on it, that personalized piece, how it might look different for each individual. And so thinking about that, a lot of times, just a second, please. Sorry about that. When I think about coaching, of course, I'm a athletic background, continue to coach sports. So I think about coaches. You think about coaches in different ways. You have your really hands-on, technical, loud, get in your face coach, and you also have the laid back, soft and gentle type. What should one expect from a coach in the education field? And you both touched on it a little bit, but what should one expect from, are you going to one of you said, you work on goals, and if they want to work on those things or they want to start working, that's fine. But if there's areas that you really need to see help or growth, what should they expect from you as a coach?
That's a really interesting question. I'm going to take a stab at this one, Iyshia, and then knowing that we just work with really different people, please add in your perspective. I think with the residents I work with, I tend to be a lot more, not in your face, but a lot more on that technical side. If you're not familiar with the classroom, it's just always not clear what you need to work on. And so I think I try to take a little bit more of a hands-on approach, especially in partnering with the mentor teachers, what do we need to work on? And let's really hone in on that. And like Iyshia mentioned, we have a pretty specific scope for the skills. So we work on classroom management first quarter, we work on lesson planning second quarter, we start to work on data in third quarter. And so we kind of have those big goals already built into the way we design our programming. And so you should expect as a resident for your coach to follow those areas. And to ask you what kind of support you need. Do you need to co-plan with me where we sit side by side and do it together? Do you want feedback? Do you need someone to model this for you? Do you just need a brainstorming partner? And then to give you feedback on whatever you ended up doing. I think for graduates though, it really changes significantly. I try, not always successful, but I try to really ground my coaching in a relationship. And so if somebody is setting a goal that maybe isn't the highest leverage in their classroom, as long as it's going to make a difference for kids, I'm going to work with them on it. And then later on, as we've built our relationship and as we've kind of normed on what our coaching relationship looks like, I'm going to try to push them and ask them really thought-provoking questions and get their opinions to try to help them see a broader picture. I think my biggest goal as a coach is to empower my teachers to be able to see their practice really holistically. So all of the aspects of the teaching practice, which is a huge umbrella, and be able to name what the highest leverage things are. And sometimes it's hard to see those things. And so working with them to kind of broaden their perspective, what does it mean to be a great teacher, and what are all the things that entails. Because I think sometimes we get really narrowly focused on it's just management, it's just class or lesson planning. And it can be so much bigger than that. That felt like a little bit of a rambling response, but
no, that was very important and very good. And I'm going to stop it there because I'm going to send the next question to you, Iyshia, based on something that Melissa said there. So Melissa, you did distinguish the fact that it might look different during being a resident versus a graduate. And I didn't touch much on that, but I think this is a good opportunity to talk about that because it is important to note that individuals who come into the program continue to have a coach even after that first year as a resident. So, Iyshia, what does that look like? How does it look different from year one as a resident to year 2, 3, and beyond?
Yes. So it looks, first I want to tackle how does it even look different from just a traditional model? So I went the traditional route. And with that model, depending on what degree you have, you usually have like student teaching placement, and that is usually about 16 weeks of placement. For me, mine was early childhood education, so I did 8 weeks in one setting and then 8 weeks in another. And then for other grade levels, then you're usually like in one setting for the whole 16 weeks. But that's it. 16 weeks, yeah, that's it. Like you learn what you're going to learn in your 16 weeks, and then you graduate and you're off to try to find a job. With our model, it's a year-long experience. It's a gradual release experience. Like Melissa stated, you first get in, you're learning about classroom management, and then you're learning about objectives, lesson plannings. So it keeps going on and it builds upon each other. And it doesn't just stop at one area. It's like a spiral effect. So you're not just going to learn about classroom management, and then when you move on to lesson planning, forget all about classroom management. You're going to keep your classroom management, and you're going to add on the lesson planning. So the first year you have a mentor teacher, and we partner with several schools in the Kansas City area, KCPS and of various charter schools. And we go through a process of selecting mentor teachers that are a good match and a good fit for our residents. So we put them together in hopefully their same area, same field, grade level they want. That's in the perfect world. Of course, that's just in a perfect world. So we try our best to match it. And then that resident and the mentor teacher, they're together for a year, and then they have a continuum coach. A continuum coach, and we're with them for 4 years. So that's the first year. And then the second year, they become what we call a teacher of record. And so that would be their second year in the program, but that would be their first year as a teacher. And during that time, they no longer have a mentor teacher. They're on their own. They're in their own classroom. They are now getting paid money with their school, but we're still here to support them, to help them. And that coaching, frequency is less than it was the first year. So the very first year, we meet with them weekly. By the second year, we start to do more of a gradual release. So it might begin as still weekly, and then we'll move on to biweekly. As we get to the third year, it will move from biweekly to monthly coaching. And when they get to the last year, their fourth year, it's more of quarterly coaching. So like Melissa named, that relationship is really key, because obviously when you get to the fourth year and you're just quarterly, it's all about relationships at that point. Just like checking in, like, how's it going? Can I model something? Can I support you? So it's definitely a gradual release, but it's amazing that you get a whole year of just being in the classroom. You get to see what happens from the very start of school, which that does not happen in a traditional setting, all the way to the very end. You don't have to wonder, like, how did they get to this point? You see it, you're in there, you're hands-on. That's our model.
No, thank you for that insightful information there. And if you are joining us, thank you for joining us. My name is Vernon Birmingham, Talent and Placement Manager with the Kansas City Teacher Residency, joined by two of our continuum coaches within KCTR, Melissa and Iyshia. And that word, always continuum, that word is just so, but thank you for joining us. If you have any questions for during this time, you can feel free to ask those in the comment section. And we did receive one. I'm going to pause the answer real quick. And that question was, as I navigate back screens, is this a program that someone can apply for? And the answer is yes. The application window is currently open for our cohort 6, and that closes on March 26th. And it's I ain't gonna say real simple, but there are some requirements. You have to have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't matter what that bachelor's degree is in. You just have to have a bachelor's degree. And there's certain GPA requirements that's involved as well. It's kind of on a, it's a hard to answer that one. We did just have a switch to requirements from the state that's required a 275. That is no longer the case. However, there are still requirements that's in place with UMKC. So that is who we work with for our master's program. So the application window is open. It can be found on our website, kcteach.org. And we'd love to have you consider joining us. So again, Iyshia and Melissa, thank you for sharing the insight of what coaches look like. And the next question, any of you can kind of talk about, but my experience, for example, as a teacher, as an educator, I came in through an alternative certification route as well. The big difference between that, the program I was in, which I won't state it, it's no longer around anyway. I think it lasted 2 or 3 years, so that tells you how successful it was. But one of the things was the fact that we were together for 1 week, then we were thrown in the classroom. And the only way I survived was because I taught at the same high school I graduated from, which meant I had a lot of individuals there who were looking out for me, ensuring that I was taken care of. So kind of keeping that in mind, what do you see as the benefits of having that personalized coaching as a resident?
Motion detected in the front yard.
Well, I'll jump on since Melissa looks like maybe she's having a little connection issue. The benefits, can you restate the last part, the benefits of what?
Yeah, it's just like, what do you see as the benefits of having personalized coaching? Like someone that they can work with one-on-one throughout this process, especially over that first year as you're a resident learning basically how to teach.
I mean, I think the benefits of having the personalized coaching is it's personalized. Like it's exactly what you want, how you want it. It's just, I think the other thing, the benefit is that with our program, it's a coach that's not directly tied to your school site. So for me, that's huge because I feel like you feel a little bit more open into sharing and being vulnerable of like what my strengths are and my challenges. Because no matter if you're a coach at a school site or outside source like we are, we're not evaluative. So we're not coming in to like report back to your principal, like, oh, hey, this is what's going on. We're here to help you develop and help you grow. But with that, having a coach that is in an outside position, I think really helps personalize the coaching even more because you kind of, you don't feel like that, like, oh, they're going to like share everything with my coworkers or anything like that. You just have that sense of like, this is my coach and she's here for me. And you may be one of the only people in your school having this special coach that comes into your school to help you. Usually there's more than one person at your school site that is with a continuum coach, but there's a handful of them. So like we're not coaching the whole entire school. We might have about 5 or more or less of mentor or residents at the school site. So I think just like having that special personalized coach that comes in, tailors the needs to what you're looking for, but also can collaborate with your school coaches and your school curriculum, I think is just a benefit in itself that you might have 2 coaches or you just have a coach that can just tailor it to whatever you're looking for, or whatever you're needing, your style. My St. Louis came out a little bit there. Style. 314 days coming up.
Yeah, I don't think I have. I think Iyshia nailed it on the head with that one. I think having an outside perspective sometimes can really be the biggest benefit of a personalized coach, right? Somebody, like Iyshia said, someone that's not in your school site can just really help you look, I don't know, like kind of get that balcony view, if that makes sense. So step up and out of kind of the day-to-day and really gain some different perspective.
Oh, that's good. And I think, when you think about, both of you touched on having that, someone that's not within the school, outside eyes, but I think it's important to note as well the fact that not only that, but we're still talking about individuals, meaning our coaches who have teaching experience and teaching backgrounds, and some have had previous coaching backgrounds. So I find extreme value in that piece alone as well. Knowing that, yes, you may not be in the same school or things or see them every day. However, you have that experience from being in the classroom that still transcends just education as a whole. So we have many individuals who come into the profession who might be parents, or they might already work in schools. I mean, we have some who already even teach just in some other way they're teaching within a classroom or things like that. And they might think they may not need a coach, or they might think, I have a lot of teacher friends. Therefore, why can't I just use them? Is it a requirement to use a KCTR coach? And if so, why do we see the value in that?
Well, it is a requirement. It's a part of our program. We're embedded in. And can you name the last piece of your question? Is it a requirement, and what was the other part?
Let me switch back to the screen. I was asking, is it a requirement? What did I say? Is it a how did I word it? Because I kind of worded it different from how I had it typed out. Is it a requirement?
Oh, I think I remember. And why did they not have to use like other people in their school? Is that right? Something like that?
And why is the value of having that KCTR coach versus using a friend who teaches somewhere else or something along those lines?
Well, you definitely can still use your friends. You can still use them as support systems and things like that. But the honest reality is this is our job. Like we have time cut out to spend time with you. And we all know in a teaching world, time is of the essence. So trying to find time with those other teachers in the building might not be as easy and as quick as you may want. And we all know we're also in the age of like quick responses, fast responses. Teachers are making just in the moment decisions all the time. So just having like that coach at your disposal of like, that's what our jobs are. We set aside time just so we can have conversations with you and to chat with you. We have pretty open lines of communication. There's ways for us to share our calendar. So you always like know when we're available and when we are able there to assist you. Whereas with your teacher friends, don't give them up because they're great resources, great support systems. And why not have more? The more, the better. So yeah, that's my answer in short.
Yes, everything Iyshia said. And I think one of the things that we offer is, again, it's that increased perspective. So as coaches, we work in several schools. We don't just work in one. And so because of that, and because of the number of classrooms that we're in, we can also help connect you with people that maybe you don't know as well, who are doing something really, really well. And so we can actually broaden your network in a way where you can get access to things that maybe you wouldn't have had without that bridge. And I also think there are several schools where I've coached at them year over year. And so I've developed relationships with the principals and the instructional coaches and other teachers in the building. And that knowing of the context, maybe your friend doesn't know what it's like to teach at your school if they're not there with you. Schools are really different. Every building has its own little quirks and culture and expectations and things they do really well and things they need to work on. And so having somebody that's partnering with you that understands that context, but is also outside of it can be it's just an extra benefit. And I mean, I can understand it is a time piece, but I think one of our big goals as coaches is to make sure that anytime we're interacting with you, it's useful time, right? You're going to get something out of that space that is going to help you, whether that's processing support or, Monday's lesson plan. You're going to hopefully walk away from that time with something that's going to help you be a better, more stable and sustained teacher.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And again, thank you for joining us. If you are joining us live on the Kansas City Teacher Residency Facebook page, as we are discussing the coaching model within the Kansas City Teacher Residency, joined this afternoon by Melissa Noland and Iyshia Sims, both coaches. Melissa is a senior coach within KCTR. Let me make sure to get that title right and drop that title out there. But as coaches, what have you seen in your experience being one of the greatest challenges for new residents coming into the program? What have you viewed as being one of the greatest challenges that you've seen?
I'm assuming the answer you're looking for is not COVID-19 making us virtual, because that has definitely
Yeah.
been a challenge. But I think every year, one of the things that, and it's something that I experienced going into the classroom, I wouldn't be surprised if Iyshia and Vernon experienced as well, but you have an idea in your head of what teaching is going to be. And no matter what idea you have, you're wrong. You're going to get in there and there's going to be something you didn't expect. And there's going to be an aspect to this job that you're like, man, I didn't even realize teachers did that. Like, wow, okay, I've got to learn this. And that's really normal and that's expected. And teachers do a lot. And to have a complete, I mean, even I know people that are like, you know, my mom and my dad have been teachers and I still really didn't understand everything that this job entails until I got into it. And yeah, that's the big thing. I think that's something every resident goes through, is a time where they're just like, what is this?
Yeah, my first thought went to COVID-19 too. I was like, outside of that, like we can't control that. I would agree with what Melissa's saying, like not even necessarily like not knowing, because some teachers that come into our program, they have some background knowledge, like Vernon had mentioned before. They might already have been in some kind of capacity of teaching, or was a para, so they had a look inside. But I would definitely say like the classroom management piece is probably like the part that, you know, they just think it just happens overnight, or I don't know. Like I was just talking to a mentor and she was saying, like, she was telling the resident, because they're gearing up to go back into class and back into schools, about we need to really get the classroom management for in-person ready. And she's like, normally, you know, this is like about a month or 2 months. And they're like, 2 months? Like, yes. Like she's, you know, just naming all those steps and skills, like, you know, how are they going to line up? How are they going to come to the carpet? How will they sit down? How will they turn and talk? How will they get pencils? And she's like they just grab them. Like, no, they can't just grab them. Like, it's like all these steps and all these thoughts that you have to think about. Even like setting up desk. And I mean, now we have a whole nother, you know, piece to setting up desks with COVID and everything. But just in a normal classroom environment, you know, you might walk in and see teachers sitting in student desk and like, what are they doing? Just trying to get a student perspective. Like, can the students see everything they need to see from this point of view? Because as a teacher up in the front teaching, you see things totally different than how they're going to see it. So being able to put yourselves in those little people's feet. How am I going to look at the teacher? Am I in a good view to see the board? How am I going to walk? Do I have enough space to get to the line? All these little logistics. I think that's something that's kind of overlooked with all the classroom management and just classroom procedures.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Melissa and Iyshia. And again, if you're joining us, if you have questions, feel free to ask those in the comment section. So there's been mentioned a couple of times now of mentor teachers, and I kind of touched on it briefly when I talked about the residency program. So how is a coach different from a mentor teacher? Let's talk about that. And not only that, but how do they supplement each other, if at all?
You want me to start? I'm going to let Melissa piggyback on this because she's been in the program longer than me. So a coach is different than a mentor teacher. Well, a mentor teacher is your primary coach. They're with you all the time. Outside of like when you're in classes, like Vernon mentioned, we partner with UMKC. So you do have a piece of classes, component of your week that you are not with your mentor teacher, but your mentor teacher is a classroom teacher that all of us have worked together. And when I say all of us, I mean our KCTR staff, your school, admin, powers that be, all of us have worked together to place all of us together. So your mentor teacher is a classroom teacher that you're with and learning from 4 days out of the week. And you're with them majority of your time. So, and then the piece of us all collaborating together, I'll let Melissa speak on that part.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've done the calculation and it's something like the average resident spends at least 1,400 hours with their mentor teacher. And no matter how much time I give to my residents, I am never going to hit that time, right? Like there's no way I'm going to spend 1,400 hours with each and every one, or even one of my residents. So just that element of time is a big difference. I think the key thing is that as a mentor teacher, their primary role is to quite literally teach and model and help you grow really specific teaching skills. And my role as a coach is to fill in any potential areas where the mentor teacher needs more support, and to help ensure that we're on track to meet the goals that we've set, and also to help the mentor teacher become a better mentor. And so what we've learned over the last 5 years is that a good mentor makes all the difference. And so we really want to help our mentor teachers be the absolute best they can be. And so we kind of partner between the two. And so I'm with my resident every week, but what that looks like is 1 week I'm with their mentor teacher and we're collaborating on, what did you see in the classroom? What did I see in the classroom? What do we think is the highest leverage feedback? What do we think is the right skill to really focus on? What growth have we seen? And then we sit down and have a conversation, and the mentor teacher is the one that's really saying, like, you know, this is what we're seeing. This is the growth we've seen. Like, what do you think is the next area to grow on? Cool, I can support here, here, and here. And then I kind of fill in the gap, like not at the gap, but just give that additional perspective. So I have a resident where we meet every other week and look at exit tickets together. And that's the one thing that we work on, where with his mentor teacher, he works on everything. So I think with coaches, we get really specific, and it's like, what's the one thing we're going to focus on? And the mentor teacher kind of fills in all those other pieces by modeling what they look like, and giving feedback on them, and supporting them and trying new things out as well. Yeah, so that's the best way I can explain it. It's something we're still figuring out.
No, that's good. That's good, because, you know, at least on my side of the office, we talk often about the office I've never hardly been to, because I started this job in the middle of a pandemic, but you all get what I mean. On our side of the corner, we talk often a lot about, and it's a good collaboration there. We hear the mentor teacher and the coaches, and that collaboration is important, because on our side, we talk a lot about mindset over skill set in recruitment and through the interview process. And we look for individuals who have the right mindset, because if they have the right mindset about education, about equity, about the role of teachers and the like, through coaching and mentor teachers, we can help develop and build a good teacher. And I think that's, you know, what you all said is very important as we're talking about how they're separate but work together to ensure that we're building up quality educators. So thank you for sharing that. So we made mention now of the coaching with the residents, and we talked about year one, it looks this way, then it looks different as you progress through graduate and things like that. So do individuals keep the same coaches each year, or do they change? How does that look from year to year?
So I'm going to hop in on this one. We believe that continuity is really important, and we try as much as possible to keep that. And because people move schools, and because, you know, coaches sometimes shift as well, it's not always possible. And so I have people that I've been really, really blessed to, I coached them as a resident, and I coached them last year, and I've coached them this year, and I will most likely coach them next year. And I had, once upon a time, a school with so many people that if I took that school, I couldn't take any other schools. And we decided, like, oh, because we've also got to think about if one coach has one school, then another coach might have 20 schools, and that's not okay either. So we've got to kind of find this balance of, like, how do we keep people with the same coach as much as possible, because we believe in that relationship and that continuity, and how can we make sure that our coaches are using their capacity in the most efficient and most equitable way possible. Travel time in a typical year is a real thing. And so if one coach has 20 schools and one coach has 1 or 2, like, it's not going to be an equitable distribution of people, which means that those graduates and residents aren't going to get as much coaching time, and that's not, we want to make sure that we can provide that for them. Anything that you would add, Iyshia, to that one?
Yeah, when you talked about like travel time, as we continue to grow as an org, we continue to add on more schools. Just thinking about the logistics of traveling, like Melissa said, just trying to get the most bang for our buck on, like, we don't want you going from one school here and then traveling so far away over here. So maybe before we didn't have as many partner schools. And so it was equitable for you to do all that traveling. But now we've added more schools on, and this little area is nice for you to travel. So you might have to give up your coaching spot like to another coach, because it makes more sense for them to stay within this area and you stay within this area. So yeah, and then as Melissa said, people change school sites, so that can make your coach change. Coaches change roles. And like as we grow, new positions open, we are hiring. So we move about in our org, and so you might get a new coach, but our goal is to stay with you as long as we can. And we always try to, like, leverage that part. But that's not always possible due to growth.
No, that's good. Thank you. Thank you. So we're kind of coming down to the end here. I have one question or topic point remaining before I give you both a parting shot, per se. And again, thank you for joining us. If you are joining us live or going to watch this later, this is Vernon Birmingham, Talent and Placement Manager with the Kansas City Teacher Residency, joined by coaches Melissa and Iyshia. So I know, Iyshia, I'll let you answer first because you are the newer coach on the scene. So it might be more fresh in your head right now, as Melissa's probably has thousands of these. But real quick, what is one kind of, I don't know if I want to use touching moment or exciting moment or some moment that sticks out thus far in your role as a coach that like excites you or really gives you joy working with the resident thus far?
My mind went one way, and then you hadn't finished the question, so it went a whole nother way. It's like one moment that excites you. Oh, I got it. Like with the resident. Oh, I got to shift that a little bit. Let me see. I would just, with all my residents, growth is the thing that excites me the most. But I have one resident in particular that's in my mind right now that the growth excites me so much, because in the beginning, they were just unsure of themselves all the time. Like, I'm not sure I'm doing this right. They got affirming feedback, but sometimes, like, if you're that person that really like just settles in the adjusting feedback, that can be hard to really like hone in on the affirming feedback. So now we're getting to a place where like that affirming feedback is just like really like overshadowing the adjusting feedback. So, every time we have our conversations, and I'm just like, think about where you started and where you're at. I'm just so excited for this resident to start. I'm excited for all my residents, but this one in particular I'm thinking about. I'm just excited for this resident to be placed at their school site, get their own classroom, just to see how much they're going to flourish, how much they're going to grow with their own set of students, with their own beliefs and their method, and incorporating everything they've learned from their mentor teacher along with our program. That's the thing that just excites me the most, just seeing them in action next year. Like, you did it. Like, that's the part I'm just like the most excited for.
Yeah, so many moments come to mind for it. Because I think one of the things I value the most about coaching is the relationships that I get to develop with people. And I think for me, seeing, there's a few different people that come to mind in particular where over the last 7 years, they've lacked confidence. And I think, Iyshia, it's very similar to what you said. They were maybe struggling or didn't believe in themselves or had a really harsh view of what they were not capable of. And as you get to know them and work with them, and all of a sudden they say something like, oh yeah, I know, Melissa, I've got to focus on the positive first. And they list like 5 things they did well that day without even thinking about it. It's like, yes, you got it. And they can tell you, they start to be able to really name like what they're good at and really own it and really believe that while they're not perfect, because I'm a firm believer, no teacher's perfect. Every teacher has an area of growth. It doesn't matter if you've been doing this for 2 years or 20, you got something to work on that you could do better for kids. But like, and you also have to own what you're good at, because that's how you're going to be a really amazing teacher, is when you can leverage those strengths and really use those to build an amazing classroom. And when you know what you're good at and you really focus on those areas, you're able to make an awesome space for kids. And then you can work on the other stuff on the side here or there, right? Like, and get and start to hone it. But people step their strength.
We might have lost her.
We might have lost her. Melissa, are you still there? All right, we might have lost her, and if she comes back, great. But as I said, we are winding down here. I'm going to parting shots here. So Iyshia, if we have prospective residents or individuals who are thinking about applying right now, what is something you would say to them about the
She's back.
residency program?
Did you want her to finish up before I jump in?
Where did you lose me at?
I think you were towards the end of what you were saying.
Let's just go on with Vernon's question.
Okay. All right. Residents that are interested in coming to our program. Is that right, Vernon? What would we say to them?
Yes. What would be your parting shot to individuals who are thinking about or kind of on the fence about applying, and why they should do it?
Well, you already met Melissa and I, so we could possibly be your coaches. So if you got good vibes from that, come on, join our team. But also, we are just like no other. We're different than the traditional route, and I'm a strong advocate for this, especially since I went the traditional route. And I'm like, man, if I could have got a whole year under my belt before I actually stepped foot into the classroom, I could have been so much better for kids than what I was. So just having that part, knowing that you're going to have a coach for 4 years, a thought partner, somebody to process with, also knowing that we are always growing, open-minded, we're continuing to interrogate our work, our words, and what's best for kids. There's no other program like us. Come on and join us. Join our team.
You're really good at the selling stuff. Melissa.
Absolutely. I mean, I think if you're on the fence, the questions to ask yourself would be, what kind of support do you think you would need? And then ask Vernon and Lauren about it, because we probably have it. To be honest, right? Coaching is one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest aspects of our program, and one of the primo supports that we offer. And it's not the only thing we offer. We have so many ways to help and sustain people in this work, and to help you grow. And I think one of the things that we actually do really well is how we help our residents develop a community. Our cohort culture is so strong, and going through our program, you're not doing it alone. You are not doing it alone. You are doing it with 40 or 45 other individuals who are just as dedicated and just as focused and just as committed to kids and to Kansas City. And that sense of community continues on into your master's program in year 1. It continues on into year 2 and year 3. We do get graduates together in those later years as well. And I know people where they're still friends, right? They're done with our alumni that are done with the program. They still communicate. They still get together. They still rely on each other for classroom supports and to bounce ideas off one another and to troubleshoot together and to just, talk about like, whoo, what a year it's been, because that's the thing. And I think particularly for some of the more traditional programs that I'm familiar with. I was alternatively certified, so I can't speak to traditional programs as well as Iyshia can. But that sense of cohort and that sense of like community is something that is very unique to KCTR and something we do really well. And I think is one of, like, knowing that you're not going at it alone is probably the biggest reason to just, like, if you want to be a teacher, this is the way to go.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And as Melissa mentioned, cohorts, this is that reminder that cohort 6 application window is still open. We are looking to hopefully add another. We had a fall selection day, so we're looking to add to that, and we were really hoping to probably add another 30 or so, if not more. I don't care. I want to get as many as we can. So we're looking to add another, let's say 30 more individuals who are looking to help change education landscape here in Kansas City. So this is the conclusion, and we thank you for joining us on our another edition of Kansas City Teacher Residency Presents Teacher Discussions, the Coaching Model. We thank Iyshia and Melissa for spending some time with us this afternoon, talking about their roles as coaches and how that they would support, not them or coaches would support you as a resident and beyond that residency year as you become a teacher in Kansas City. So as they both said, there's nothing like that support that you're going to get. That's what, in my opinion, makes us distinct among other programs, as Iyshia said, even the traditional route, because you're going to ensure that you're supported to be successful in the classroom. Our goal is not to have anyone go in, and not that that's anyone's goal is go in to fail, but we're going to give you as much support and leverage to ensure that you can be successful early on. And not only that success piece, but hopefully that success will have you stay in the classroom for years, beyond years and years. So we thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you, Iyshia and Melissa, for joining us. And if you know someone who should apply, send this to them. Send them to our YouTube page where this will go to, or you can send them to our Facebook page. So again, thank you and enjoy your day.